Now it's a big task, but I'm going to step you through the making of my best ever version of a Central style red mole. If you've got a Mexican grandmother, hers is the best ever version, so make hers. But if you don't have a Mexican grandmother, I'm going to show you all of what you need to know to turn out a really beautiful version of it. Now this is a dark red chili sauce, so we have to have the right chilies to make it. So we have the pasilla chilies here and the mulatos. Together they're not only going to give dark color, but this rich complexity to the flavor, as well as a little tiny bit of chocolatiness. Then we've got a few of the ancho chilies, a lighter and sweeter chili. When you're working with dried chilies, the first thing that you do is to tear the stem off of it. That'll come off really easily here. And then open them up and shake out all the seeds. Most of them will come out really easily. Okay, now we've got the chilies prepared, and the next step is to toast or roast almost all of the other ingredients. I know that seems like a daunting task, but if you don't do it, your mole is not going to have the depth of flavor and complexity. Start by putting a few tomatillos under a broiler, roasting them for about 5 minutes on each side until they become blackened in spots and soft. Then scrape them into a bowl, being sure to keep all of their delicious juices. Next, in a dry skillet over medium heat, toast some sesame seeds, making sure to stir them constantly until they're golden. That'll take about 5 minutes or so. Add them to the bowl with the tomatillos. Heat some fresh pork lard in a skillet and fry the chilies on each side, just long enough for them to change color. Pour hot tap water over the chilies, weight them down with a plate, and let them rehydrate for about 30 minutes. Next, fry whole almonds and garlic cloves until they're brown, then add them to your bowl of dry ingredients. Also, quickly fry some raisins, just long enough for them to puff up and brown slightly. I'm using turkey breast for this recipe, so be sure to salt it on both sides before putting it into your hot pan and browning it all over. The chilies have soaked now, and this is a moment at which we have to determine whether we're going to use the chili soaking liquid or not. I'm going to take that plate off of the top of it, and with a small spoon, taste it. What we're looking for is sweetness or bitterness. Those were good chilies. They're a little spicy, but man, are they sweet. So that means that I am going to capture all of that flavor in that soaking liquid. If I detected a lot of bitterness in it, then I would replace it with water at this point, because we're just going to be cooking it and concentrating it. You'll see that in just a second. The next step is to put those chilies in a blender jar along with their soaking liquid and blend it all until it's as smooth as you can get it. Strain it back into the bowl through a medium mesh strainer to catch any stray seeds or chili skins that may not have been blended completely. Now, I said that mole is a complex sauce, and to this bowl of the roasted tomatillos and the raisins and all of the rest of those toasty, roasty ingredients, we have a few more ingredients to add to them, all of these spices. So we're starting here with cloves and anise, black pepper and cinnamon. And then to give this mole a really velvety texture, toasted bread's going to go in, and then of course what everybody thinks about mole is going to be seasoned with chocolate. Just keep in mind that chocolate is only one of many flavors in this and should never be the predominant flavor. So I'm going to add all of these things to it. This piece of toasted bread I'm just going to break up. The chocolate's going to go in chopped like that. And then all of these spices I'm going to put all in together like that. And now we're ready to go over to the blender, but I need to add some extra liquid, obviously. I'm gonna start with about a cup full of water to this mixture, and then put all of that into the blender jar. Absolutely no reason at all to wash this blender jar. It's all gonna end up in the same pot anyway. And then we'll go over to the blender and blend this again until it's as smooth as we can get it. If you see the ingredients stop moving in the blender jar, feel free to add a little bit more water to get them started again. Now, once it's completely smooth, press this mixture through a strainer back into its bowl. I say, for real traditional flavor, always use fresh rendered pork lard. If you're not a pork lard person, then I suggest that you use a vegetable oil for this. I'll spoon it in here and wait until it melts. The pan is hot enough that once it is melted, it should be the right temperature for me to put in the chili paste. And then I'm gonna stir the chili paste until it's reduced to like the consistency of tomato paste. That should take about 8 to 10 minutes. It's gotten really thick now. You have to stir it because it'll spatter on you, which is one of the reasons you want a really deep vessel to cook this in. And I'm gonna put the second puree in here, but we wanna continue to cook it until it too is just about as thick as tomato paste. That'll take another, say, 8 to 10 minutes. Keep stirring it. It's so thick now that when I stir around the outside with this spatula, I can see all the way to the bottom of the pot. Now it's time to add liquid. I've got 6 cups of water that's going to go in here. Now, most recipes would tell you that you need to use chicken broth, and feel free to do chicken broth. I'm actually going to braise that turkey breast in this, and that's going to give off a whole lot of turkey flavor to it. So I don't really need that extra chicken broth flavor in this. We're going to let this simmer over kind of a medium-low heat now. For about an hour. You could leave it go for 3 or 4 hours. It just gets better with time. Okay, we're to the final stages of mole making, which is the seasoning. And it's not the easiest thing to season a mole, especially if this is your first time going through it. We're gonna add some salt to it, and that will bring out the savory notes in the mole, everything that is not sort of fruit-like or has a sweet flavor to it. And then we're gonna add some sugar that will bring those things out. So we'll start here. Remember, we have a large pot here, so it's gonna be more than just taking a salt shaker and sprinkling over the top of this. So I'm going to stir that in and then give it a taste. And I encourage you to do this little at a time so that you can really understand how the flavors change in the pot. Okay, now I've got those savory notes coming out. So now I'm going to add a little bit of sugar to this pot, because we do have dried fruit in here, and we also have dried chilies. This is a beautiful pot of mole. And now, everything is in perfect balance. Everything is in perfect balance. I'm gonna set it up for baking the turkey breast. So I'm gonna just upend the cazuela of mole into the more shallow cazuela. Okay, there, and we're ready now to nestle this turkey breast down into the mole for the baking. And this will be basically like a braise. I'll just have this turkey breast skin side up, almost up to the top in the mole, and I'm ready to put it into the oven. I think it will take about 35 minutes or so at about 325 degrees. I let the turkey breast cook until it was at about 150 degrees, and then took it out, let it sit for a few minutes. Now, this mole that is here, it's thickened up quite a bit. I like mole to be the consistency of a fairly thick cream soup, but not any thicker than that. So I've got a little bit of water here. Just a touch of it will thin it out to exactly the right consistency. Now all I have left to do is slice the turkey, pour in the mole, serve the turkey on top, and garnish it with some toasted sesame seeds. That's a traditional touch. And a little bit of flat leaf parsley.